Call anyone you want. The room went silent. The billionaire leaned back in his leather chair, a slow, mocking smile spreading across his face. His name was Victor Hale, a man who owned half the skyline and all the power in the room. People feared him. People admired him. But no one ever challenged him. Except today. Across from him stood a young man in worn-out shoes, his shirt slightly wrinkled, his hands trembling, but his eyes did not move. They did not fear. They did not beg. They simply watched. Victor tapped his gold pen against the desk. "You've got 30 seconds, he said lazily. "Call anyone. Lawyer, politician, celebrity, anyone who can save you." A few people in the room chuckled. Security stood behind the young man, ready. The accusation had been simple: embezzlement, theft, fraud. Victor didn't care if it was true. He had already decided the ending. "Time's ticking," Victor added. The young man swallowed. His name was Daniel Carter, 24 years old. An intern. Invisible to most people in the building. Until today. Daniel slowly reached into his pocket. His phone shook in his hand. 30 seconds. 29. 28. "You're wasting time," Victor smirked. Daniel looked up. For just a moment, their eyes locked. And something flickered. Not fear. Not anger. Something deeper. Something old. Then Daniel unlocked his phone. He scrolled. His thumb paused. He pressed call. The room leaned in. Victor chuckled. "Let's hear it," he said. "Put it on speaker." Daniel hesitated. Then he did. The phone rang once. Twice. 3 times. Click. A voice answered. Calm. Older. Steady. "Hello." Daniel's voice cracked, but he didn't stop. "Hi, it's me." A pause. Then the voice softened instantly. "Danny." The room shifted. Victor's smile faded slightly. Something about that voice. Something familiar. Daniel closed his eyes for a second. "I need help." Silence. Not the kind of silence that comes from confusion. The kind that comes from understanding. "What happened?" the voice asked quietly. Daniel took a breath. "They're accusing me of stealing. They're about to have me arrested." Victor rolled his eyes. "Spare us the drama." But then, the voice on the phone spoke again. And everything changed. "Put me on speaker." Daniel nodded, even though the man couldn't see him. "You're already on," Daniel said. Another pause. Then, "Who is they?" Victor leaned forward slightly. The tone. That tone. Cold. Controlled. Dangerous. Daniel looked up. "Victor Hale." And just like that, Victor froze. The pen slipped from his fingers. It hit the desk. No one moved. No one breathed. Because suddenly, the most powerful man in the room didn't look powerful anymore. The voice on the phone didn't speak immediately. But when it did, it was quiet. Deadly quiet. "Victor Hale." Victor swallowed. His throat felt dry. That's correct," he said, forcing a smile. "And who am I speaking to?" There was a pause. A long one. And then, "My name," the voice said slowly, "is Samuel Carter." Victor's face went white. Because that name wasn't just a name. It was a ghost. And ghosts don't call back. 20 years ago, Victor Hale was nothing. No money. No power. No empire. Just a desperate man with ambition and a hunger that burned like fire. And Samuel Carter. Samuel was the opposite. Kind. Honest. Loyal. Too loyal. They had built something together once, a small company in a cramped office, fueled by long nights and cheap coffee. Samuel had the ideas. Victor had the drive. And for a while, they were brothers. Not by blood, but by choice. Until the day Victor chose something else. Money. Power. Control. It had started small. A signature forged. A deal twisted. A lie told. Samuel trusted him. That was the problem. By the time Samuel realized what was happening, it was already too late. Victor had taken everything. The company, the investors, the future. And Samuel took the fall. Fraud. Misconduct. Charges stacked high. He lost everything. His career. His reputation. His home. Even his wife. Who couldn't handle the shame. And the worst part. Samuel never fought back. He never exposed Victor. Because even after everything, he still believed in him. Victor leaned back in the present, his hands shaking slightly. "That's impossible," he whispered. Across the room, Daniel watched him. "You remember him," Daniel said softly. Victor didn't answer. Because of course he remembered. He remembered the man he had betrayed. The man he had destroyed. The man he had buried in his past like a secret no one would ever uncover. But now, that secret was on the phone. Alive. Speaking. And calling him by name. Samuel's voice returned, steady as ever. "I never thought I'd hear your voice again, Victor." Victor forced a laugh. "Well, life is full of surprises." "No," Samuel said calmly. "Life is full of consequences." The room felt colder. Victor stood up. "This is ridiculous," he snapped. "Security." "Sit down." Two simple words. But Victor stopped. Because something in that voice still held power over him. After all these years, Victor slowly sat back down. Daniel watched everything. Every shift. Every crack. "Daniel is my son," Samuel said. The words landed like thunder. Victor looked at Daniel again. Really looked this time. The eyes. The quiet strength. The refusal to break. Suddenly, it all made sense. You never told me you had a son," Victor muttered. "You never asked," Samuel replied. Silence again. Heavy. Unforgiving. Victor cleared his throat. "Well, your son is being accused of stealing from my company." "No," Samuel said. "My son is being framed." Victor's jaw tightened. "That's a serious accusation." "So was yours," Samuel replied. And just like that, the past stood between them again. Unfinished. Unforgiven. Unforgotten. Victor tried to regain control. "This is a waste of time," he said sharply. "We have evidence." Daniel stepped forward. "Then show it." Victor hesitated. For the first time, he didn't immediately respond. Because deep down, he knew something wasn't right. The numbers. The reports. The inconsistencies. He had ignored them. Because it was easier. Because Daniel was expendable. But now, nothing felt simple anymore. "Bring the files," Victor ordered. An assistant rushed forward. Papers spread across the desk. Screens flickered to life. Samuel's voice came through the phone again. "Walk me through it." Victor almost laughed. But he didn't. Because suddenly, he didn't feel like the one in charge. Minutes passed. Then more. Details were examined. Transactions traced. Signatures analyzed. And slowly, the truth began to surface. Not Daniel. Someone else. Someone higher. Someone careful. Very careful. Victor's face hardened. "Who approved these transfers?" he demanded. The room went silent. Because everyone knew the answer. But no one wanted to say it. Finally, a voice spoke. "Mr. Hale, it was your CFO." Victor's heart dropped. Betrayal. The same word echoed in his mind. The same story. Different roles. For a moment, he saw himself. Years ago. Standing where the CFO stood now. Making choices. Destroying lives. Victor closed his eyes. And when he opened them again, something had changed. "Call the police," he said quietly. Gasps filled the room. And clear Daniel's name. Daniel didn't move. Didn't smile. Didn't celebrate. Because this wasn't victory. This was truth. And truth comes with a cost. Victor picked up the phone slowly. "Samuel." But Samuel interrupted him. No. Victor froze. You don't get to say my name like that, Samuel said. The calmness was gone, replaced with something deeper. Pain. Years of it. You took everything from me, Samuel continued. And I let you. Victor had no answer. Because there was none. I won't let you take anything from my son. You're right, Victor whispered. Another silence. But this one felt different. Not heavy. Not suffocating. Just real. Victor stood up. Not as a billionaire. Not as a powerful man. Just a man. Daniel, he said quietly. Daniel looked at him. I'm sorry. 2 simple words. But they carried 20 years of weight. Daniel didn't respond immediately. Because forgiveness is not that simple. I don't need your apology, Daniel said finally. Victor nodded. I know. Another pause. Then Daniel added. But he deserved it. Victor looked at the phone. Samuel. No anger this time. No arrogance. Just regret. I can't change what I did, Victor said. But I can make it right. Samuel was silent. For years, Victor continued, I told myself I had no choice. That I did what I had to do. He shook his head. But the truth is, I was just afraid. Afraid of being nothing. Afraid of losing. Afraid of trusting someone more than himself. And it cost you everything, Victor said softly. Samuel finally spoke. Yes. One word. But it said everything. Victor took a deep breath. The company, it was yours as much as mine. I'll transfer half of everything back. Legally. Publicly. The room gasped again. Millions. Billions. All of it. Victor didn't look at them. He looked at the past. At the mistake. At the man he used to be. This isn't about money, Samuel said. I know, Victor replied. It's about truth. Samuel was quiet again. Then. It took you 20 years. Victor nodded. I know. Another pause. Long. But this time. It didn't feel empty. It felt like something was finally closing. Daniel looked between them. 2 men. One past. One future. Connected by pain. But maybe. Also by something else. Samuel exhaled slowly. I don't forgive you. Victor closed his eyes. I understand. But. Victor opened them again. I'm willing to let it end. The words hung in the air. Not forgiveness. But not hatred either. Something in between. Something human. Victor nodded. Thank you. The call ended. The room was silent. But it wasn't the same silence as before. This one felt lighter. Daniel turned to leave. But Victor stopped him. Daniel. Daniel paused. You're not invisible, Victor said. Daniel looked back. For the first time, Victor added, I see you. Daniel didn't smile. But his eyes softened. That's all I ever wanted, he said. And then. He walked out. Not as an intern. Not as an accused thief. But as someone who carried truth. And strength. And a name. That even billionaires couldn't ignore. Victor stood alone in the room. For the first time in his life. Surrounded by everything he had built. He realized. What he had lost. And what it truly meant. To hear a name. And finally understand. Its weight. The end.